What's up, everyone? I'm Nnico Iosi, and I'm here to commentate on this match of Mount Battle 5 Week 2. We've got Clas going up against Breaker Dota, and these teams are looking crazy. I mean, we've got Clas with a pretty standard looking team. However, he does have a Porygon 2, which is almost never seen. And then we've got Breaker with Milotic, Ursaring, and Hitmonlee which are basically non-existent, and then the very rare Scizor and Dusclops alongside with Zapdos on Breaker's team. So this is close team sheets. I'm really interested in seeing what these players have. And yeah, there's an Ursaring and Dusclops lead versus a Raikou Porygon 2 lead. Porygon 2 has Trace, so it's gonna trace that Guts from Ursaring. Interesting. Alright, so in this position I could see Clas going for a Thunderbolt into Ursaring. Ursaring definitely threatens big damage with a Choice Band Double Edge. Raikou is not safe here to Calm Mind, but it just sets up Reflect, while Porygon tries to Toxic the Dusclops. And the Raikou reveals Pitaya, which procs after the Earthquake, which was definitely Choice Band coming from the Ursaring. Raikou was able to survive it with the Reflect up, and now has a +1 T-Bolt that it can hit Ursaring with. I still don't think it's gonna kill it. Raikou will just safely protect here. Porygon 2 trying to go for Toxic once again, misses into the Zapdos. However, the Earthquake also missing into the Porygon 2, so Bright Powder revealed on Porygon 2. Now Zapdos came in for Breaker to be able to Earthquake safely. Here's the T-Bolt, does 70%, Toxic once again missing. And the Earthquake is gonna hit both targets this time. Porygon 2 down to around 40% now. But now Latios came in. It can finish off the Ursaring, which is very obviously Choice Band. Zapdos just protected, which means Latios could also just target the Zapdos right now with a very safe either Ice Beam or Psychic. I'm not sure about Porygon 2 clicking Toxic over and over. Maybe right now it should try to do something else, like get some damage into Zapdos so that Latios can pick up the KO later. However, Porygon 2 it will just go down here to the T-Bolt. And Dusclops comes back in, so this is a 2 versus 3 advantage for Breaker right now. However, Clas still has 1 turn of Reflect, which probably won't matter unless this Dusclops is a physical attacker. But now we have a Moltres Latios on Clas's side versus Breakers, Zapdos, and Dusclops. Moltres is going to protect because the T-Bolt threatens it very hard. And the Latios reveals Light Screen while the Dusclops starts setting up Calm Mind. Incredible. This is something I have only seen in Draft League, Calm Mind Dusclops. I think this is the first time I'm seeing it in a standard match. So this is looking extremely threatening right now because Clas only has special attackers left. And that Zapdos threatens the Moltres very hard, so you cannot ignore that. Will this Dusclops be able to just roll over Clas's remaining team? Let's see. There are still 4 turns of Light Screen, so until then Dusclops will do quite pitiful damage, even with this +1 boost. Zapdos will decide to protect here. Latios has Psychic, and Moltres has Toxic, but it is Lumberry on Dusclops. Wow! And Dusclops just sets up another Calm Mind. Incredible. I never would have expected Lumberry on Dusclops. The Psychic is going to hit the Zapdos, do over half, and get the Speed F drop. Interesting thing here is the Moltres only took 54% from the T-Bolt, which means even without the Light Screen it would have survived the T-Bolt from Zapdos. And Dusclops reveals Hidden Power, which probably has to be Hidden Power Ice. It was super effective into Latios. It could be Hidden Power Dark. Yeah, wait, no, Dusclops gets Ice Beam and Ice Punch. It's probably Hidden Power Dark then. And Moltres also has Toxic, so Clas going all in on the Toxic mode of his team. So right now it's looking like a Screens plus Toxic team, which very surprising. You wouldn't have expected that when you saw these 6. There's gonna be a double protect. Clas wants to stack up the Toxic damage. That will help eventually with taking out the Dusclops. Dusclops definitely disincentivized to switch here because it already has those 2 boosts up. And now with the Zapdos gun, it will be unable to switch out. Hitmonlee is in the back, and Moltres reveals Morning Sun. Incredible move to have here to keep yourself healthy in this endgame, which could take a little while. Although with the Dusclops being toxic, it is actually going to go down rather soon. Hitmonlee reveals Hidden Power, probably Hidden Power Ghost because it targeted the Latios. I wonder what set this Hitmonlee is. Choice Band is already confirmed on the Ursaring, so it's probably something like Endure. Doesn't go for it though. Maybe it doesn't have it. Psychic on the Hitmonlee will be a one-hit KO. Hidden Power will finish off the Latios though, but the Dusclops will succumb to the Toxic. So that was game 1. Let's get into game 2. Let's switch the viewpoints once again. Incredible match, really. This is not a typical Orre match. This is very surprising for me. I've never seen such a Toxic versus CB Ursaring, Calm Mind Dusclops. Incredible stuff right here, but we've got the leads already. Raikou Moltres lead versus Milotic and Scizor. So Clas having a very nice lead here, threatening both Mons on Breaker's side quite hard. Milotic can take a T-Bolt though, so Milotic probably threatens a one-hit KO with Hydro Pump into Moltres. Although the Moltres can take a T-Bolt from full health, so maybe it can take a Hydro Pump. Depends on how invested this Milotic is. But Milotic is just going to set up the light screen, and that will actually help it survive another T-Bolt, it seems, because now it's almost back to half of its HP, and the T-Bolt just did 61%. Ursaring definitely looks extremely threatening right now. It should take these hits very well. Should one-hit KO either of these Mons with a Choice Band Double Edge. Overheat is going to hit. It is White Herb confirmed. Oh, and Ursaring tries to Rock Slide but misses the Moltres. That is extremely unfortunate. That probably would have killed. It's close. Because of Gen 3's spread damage mechanics, Rock Slide in doubles only does half of the damage it can do in singles. So this Rock Slide maybe wouldn't have KO'd, but it definitely would have been close, and there was a chance definitely. I would assume that it would have KO'd the Moltres. So missing that was very huge. Raikou now sets up the Reflect. Ursaring now is locked into Rock Slide. Moltres switched out though, so Ursaring definitely wants to switch too, because Rock Slide is not doing any damage right now. And Milotic hit the Porygon 2 with a strong Hydro Pump, doing close to half. So Porygon is already down below half. Milotic can probably finish it off with another Hydro Pump. And we know that it can take a T-Bolt right now behind the light screen. Porygon will protect. Will be another T-Bolt, only does 39% with the light screen. Incredible bulk from Milotic. And now Scizor comes back in. Now that there's no Moltres on Clas's side, Scizor could try to go for some setup, could go Swords Dance Agility. Let's see, it is Agility. Will it have HP Rock though? If it has HP Rock, this Scizor could go crazy right now. Milotic protected on the T-Bolt. Now the light screen is down. And a Swords Dance. Okay, so Scizor goes all in on the setup with Agility and Swords Dance. Incredible. Still is very threatened by the Moltres unless it can reveal HP Rock right now. Zapdos cannot one-hit KO the Moltres, it seems. Moltres has a few points of HP investment, which is interesting. It probably has some hidden Spadef investment to take Thunderbolts very well. I would assume the Zapdos is just max special attack, as is the standard, which also seems to be the case because it has no HP investment. It's just an HP stat of 321, as you can see. Scizor could be very likely to just protect here. It wants to stall out the Reflect. And it just goes for Silver Wind. There will be the T-Bolt hitting the Moltres. It does live. Overheat, of course, will one-shot the Scizor. So all Scizor got done here was getting 50% into the Raikou with a Silver Wind. But now Ursaring is back. But can Ursaring take a hit? It took 70% from a +1 T-Bolt. It should be able to take a hit here. So Zapdos could KO the Moltres. It should be able to survive a T-Bolt from Raikou. It is close, but I want to say it survives. Ursaring could take out the Raikou. Zapdos could take out the Moltres. But then Clas still has 2 Mons in the back. Porygon 2 already revealed. It is at low HP though. And probably Latios, going by what he brought in the first game. So the players are thinking about their moves. If I was... So Moltres could also switch out. It doesn't because it's at -2, but it doesn't. Ursaring is going to barely survive that T-Bolt. Will Rock Slide to bring Raikou in range of its Pataya Berry. So now Raikou can definitely just one-shot the Zapdos and Latios will finish off the Ursaring. And a Game 2 win for Clas. So Clas now has a 2-0 lead in this best of 5. Let's see. Let's see if Breaker can bring it back, can make a comeback in the 3rd game. Alright, here's game 3. Once again, let's switch this for continuity. Okay, I'm not sure about the Scizor. It doesn't seem to have HP Rock. It is nice into Latios though. I think you definitely want to keep bringing Milotic. It can set up the light screen, which helps massively against Clas's team. Ursaring should be a guaranteed bring. It is always putting on so much pressure. Zapdos is very important to deal with the Moltres. Could also have HP Grass for a Swampert. And just in case Clas brings the Metagross, you always want to have Zapdos. I mean, Zapdos is like the only standard Mon, the only Mon that really sees any regular usage at all on Breaker's team. The rest are all very niche picks. The second most used Mon on Breaker's team is Dusclops, and even that you don't see quite that often. So it is going to be an Ursaring lead because it just puts on so much pressure. Raikou, once again, can set up the Reflect that would allow either of these Mons to live a hit from Ursaring. And Dusclops probably wants to go for that Calm Mind setup again because Clas's team is so full of special attackers. Because it has Lumberry, I would assume it's Resto, like not Resto Chesto, but Rest plus Lum. Okay, Porygon 2 is going to trace the pressure. Psychic will be a 2-hit KO on Latios. Return will take out the Latios though. And Dusclops is going to set up the Calm Mind, so Ursaring now is threatened by an Overheat, but it did take out the Latios, which should be massive here. So if you're able to bring in Milotic on an Overheat, you could then turn on the light screen, but Breaker is going to switch into Hitmonlee. And Clas is just going to Toxic with both of his Mons to guarantee that this Dusclops gets poisoned in this turn. That's going to hinder the Dusclops massively. And yeah, Breaker actually could have just gone for another return, but Clas knows that the Ursaring does not want to stay in there. Overheat will not finish off the Hitmonlee, which tries to go for a Mach Punch, although it shouldn't really be threatened by a one-hit KO here. So, surprising choice to Mach Punch there. In either case, Porygon 2 protected, so it doesn't get any damage into it. And Dusclops will go for the Hidden Power into Moltres. So I'm still thinking it's probably Hidden Power Dark. Because of course it's gotta be special, right? With the Calm Mind setup. Oh, Mark Punch is gonna miss the Porygon. Bright Powder getting a second miss in this matchup. And Porygon 2 reveals that it is actually a physical Porygon 2 with Shadow Ball. Very interesting choice. If I recall correctly, Porygon 2's attack is something like base 80, whereas its special attack is actually quite high at 105. Though it does have stab on its normal type moves, so it makes sense to go physical. Moltres will finish off the Ursaring that just came back in. Will now be at -2 special attack. Porygon gets a Shadow Ball off into the Dusclops. Dusclops keeps setting up Calm Mind. I'm not sure about that. I mean, you're going down now. You really needed to take advantage of this setup and just get some damage off. Moltres is now in range of T-Bolt from Zapdos though. However, Clas has that Raikou in the back, and Raikou pretty much always hard beats Zapdos, especially a toxic Zapdos. So let's see what Porygon 2 still has. Maybe it can reveal another move here. Interesting choice from Clas in any case. Okay, Zapdos will just finish off the Porygon 2, fair enough. So it's gonna be... Clas will be brought down to his last Mon, but that is going to win this match. Congratulations to Clas for winning this clean 3-0 versus Breaker, who brought a very spicy team. Breaker did announce that he cooked very hard, and yeah, we could definitely see that. Bringing a bunch of Mons that were probably even unranked. Yeah, great effort by Breaker to try to make these Mons work. We definitely saw how much pressure an Ursaring can put on, so I think that's a great showing of the fact that this Mon can definitely be used effectively. And then Clas had a very interesting idea with the Toxic. I'm not too sure if that's viable in this format. However, against this Dusclops it definitely helped a lot. And then the screens on Raikou and Latios, definitely some CTS tech. You definitely, if you wanna have screens, you would run Latias. I can see Reflect Raikou though. But yeah, very interesting choices from both trainers here. I also loved seeing the Porygon 2, which, as I said, gets used almost never. Just got used last week by Charizard, but that was like the first time I saw Porygon 2 in a serious Orre match. But anyways, thanks everyone for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.